Incremental greetings. Why Supermemo is not popular. I did a video recently, and here is the Google Trends for Supermemo against Anki. And look at this flat line. That is Supermemo. So it's pretty obvious that Supermemo is not popular. But why? It was the first software to implement space repetition and flashcards in a digital form. It's been a very long time. And it's a still app, by the way. It's not dead. Why it is not popular? Here's the question. That was done in a few years ago, 2018. So I will be adding my 2 cents on this article. Before doing anything, Supermemo now suffers from old age. It's Windows only desktop, totally offline. Yeah, you can import from Internet Explorer and so on, but it's done locally, or images. But there's no online capacity in the cloud. That means no accounts, backups, nothing of those. And modern standards, LaTeX, and all of this. The support for images is very crude, and for CSS and HTML is also very basic, and so on. Just with this, that won't make it popular. Second, because what is implementing at the beginning was space repetition, but then it's incremental reading, it's tough. There's a huge, steep learning curve. This will also not make it popular. And then because of the company has done a terrible job of selling this. So the marketing and the customer service, that, hey, I don't get the activation key, I have to send an email, I don't get the email, all of that, it's absolutely terrible, absolutely terrible. Another thing is that it's English only. There was some Polish, but it's only English, so people who don't speak English, they won't be using it. So let's see what here he put here. I'm assuming that was from Piotr Wozniak. Let me double check this. Yeah, Supermemo help is Piotr Wozniak most of the time, not limited to him. Yeah, Supermemo, that's super key, doesn't provide any instant gratification. Not because of the software, any space repetition. So I can download an app or watch a video in YouTube or so on, and have instant gratification. Within 5 minutes, I have a result that is palpable. I can measure this. Oh, I'm having fun. I'm being entertained. With it, I can see the effect. With space repetition, it takes a while. For instance, I have an analogy with weight loss, that if I start exercising today, assuming I never exercise, and I start a diet, I will start losing weight, and every day I will be losing weight, but I will need at least a month to have lost some meaningful amount of weight that is noticeable. That, hey, look at that, now the t-shirt, I see there's more space, like, oh, I have lost weight, yeah. Or, oh, I could see the face, I could see it in the mirror, right? I need to commit time for 1 month to see the result. But in Supermemo, this is even stretched. If you want to unlock the full power of incremental reading, and we assume you are not familiar with space repetition before that, the formulation of knowledge and so on, this will take months or even years. So yeah, that is a reason that it's not popular, because a lot of users drop out, move on, a lot sooner, before realizing the power. Learning how to use the tool and the method to see the full power. Oh, by the way, it's like exercise. Well, what more or less I said about weight loss. Yeah, requires a specific personality. I actually have a video on that. If incremental reading is for you, we could simplify Supermemo as a tool and incremental reading method, because the overlap is crazy high, even though it's not the same thing. That you need patience. So in order to keep going using the app with no gratification, no result, immediate result, you have to commit time. Be patient. Then also be openness to experience, and so on. And since it's something you do yourself, because Supermemo it's used by you, there's some kind of introspection. So people who are introspected or shy are overrepresented in the Supermemo community. Yes, then the learning curve is not easy to learn. It takes a while. Exactly. That's something that Xander mentioned. The only unschooler I know. He never went to the school. I could say this for Supermemo and for space repetition. That no one attributes, hey, I achieved the Nobel Prize or I discovered the cure of cancer thanks to incremental reading or Supermemo. The only thing you will see is, yeah, I have won a random TV show of random trivia that I just memorized hundreds of thousands, a lot of thousands random facts, and I got some money for it. That's not a success story, to be honest. A lot of people, you will see that they are very success. Depends how you measure success, by the way. If it's by money, Elon Musk and all of this, or by influence, they are not using space repetition or incremental reading at all. Then, I could say that for Anki and space repetition rather than Supermemo, because Supermemo is not that well versed. It's not meant to be a cramming tool. But yeah, if I go to RemNote, that now they have made an effort to add flashcards, because this app was a note-taking app. There were no flashcards at the beginning. But how it's advertised, notes to make your classes. Here it's not there, but it says a study. Student materials for your exam. Did you see the pattern that is about the school system, passing exams, and so on? So long story short, and if you go to the Anki subreddit, people will think, hey, yeah, space repetition, yeah, Anki, or RemNote, or whatever tool, Quizlet, whatever tool you want. Yeah, it's that cramming tool, like an enhanced cramming tool, short term, like in a few months maximum range. So they think it's a cramming tool. That's why it's not popular, not just Supermemo, but Anki and so on. Supermemo is not advertised. Yes, they don't spend money on advertising the product. There's no ads. They are not running ads. So how you came across Supermemo is from the word of mouth. A friend, a relative of you mentioned Supermemo, or you found this by Googling. Then you find space repetition, then Anki. In the Anki, then you discover someone mentioned Supermemo, the algorithm, and then you go to the Supermemopedia or Wikipedia. Oh, what is this? Oh yeah, what's the original software? Okay, good to know. But you have to dig in this yourself. This is what happened. I had to discover this myself and go end up to the Supermemo store myself. That's why I was so late. Then, Supermemo is not understood or misunderstood. Yes, and I'm including users. There are users who have used Supermemo for quite a long time and they still don't understand it. Because it takes a paradigm shift. Supermemo is not a cramming tool. It's an incremental reading app or tool. It's a major difference. I'm not going to mention the difference in this video because it will be way too long. Self-reading is default to many. Yeah, you could say because you have up to 6 options. In Anki, you have 4. Even though at the end of the day, most users, especially if you use FSRS, you just go pass and fail. But I will take the opportunity that in Supermemo, you have a lot of decisions to make. In Anki, you only recall, or other apps, I'm assuming RemNote is the same thing. How well you recall that? I think in RemNote, you can pause the decks or have some, like a drop-down menu of the importance. And that's pretty much all of the decision making you can have. In Supermemo, you can overrule everything. The user has complete control of everything. Whatever the algorithm does, you can overrule that decision as a user. Full control. That makes a lot more taxing for the user. That's something 0.0. This is flashcards and topics because you also have reading. I have a video on that. And yes, many people, and I would say most of the user base, by the way, they still are intimidated by this. And this is a psychological effect because of the school. It's a bad habit from the school. You will feel anxiety that, oh, I have cards due, and so on. I was like this when I was using just Anki because of the school system. Not anymore, it's been years. Please watch the video if you want more. Then lack of curiosity, lack of trust. Yeah, I would say that yeah, it's like, oh yeah, incremental reading is like massive improvement. It's a big deal. It's counterintuitive at the beginning, but most especially, you cannot grasp the idea unless you try it out. And I include myself here. That, I mean, he's trying to sell the panacea. I was a skeptic, right? Even when I was trying Supermemo, I was still a skeptic. Which, by the way, I have this on record, by the way, in this channel. And after 40 hours of real usage is when was the tipping point that, hey, I'm recalling everything I wanted to. And in a spark second, but not only that, I see the connections, unlike when I was using Anki. That when I see this in real life, I can apply it, and so on. It's, oh, so fresh and so pleasurable. Now I do get it. Now I do get it. So I already mentioned that. It's English only. I also mentioned that the incremental reading takes a lot of time to grasp it. And Supermemo is a tool that implements this. And to date, the only one. Many users are against the principles, and yes, usually it's because of the mindset, the paradigm of the school system. Same thing. Exactly that was what I mentioned before. It requires a paradigm shift. It's the self-directed learning versus the paradigm of the school system, the Prussian school system. You follow your own curiosity, your own drive, learning drive, because you yourself can teach whatever you want. If you don't believe this, then you won't believe one of the principles in Supermemo, that you think you need to be taught by someone else. You can teach yourself whatever you want. Again, this isn't a skill that takes a lot of time. Now with artificial intelligence, you kind of minimize this, because you can get a lot of help from language models, how to formulate the knowledge. Usually, a user who is very versed, is very skilled in Supermemo, the bottleneck that creates the forgetting will be this, knowledge formulation. Yeah, it's too complex in the sense that there's so many windows, so many options, so many buttons, a lot of nomenclature and jargon. So even the stats, you have like, I don't know how many stats, I will show it to you in case you're not familiar with Supermemo. Look at all of the information for one single flashcard. Priority position, what are all of those numbers? And some of them are zero because it's brand new. What's all of this? And even the plots. I can go here and I have, look at this. I have tabs here. I have a secondary tab, and every time I get different plots, there are thousands of plots. Then you have the 4D, even more plots. I can go here and even have more plots. It's like crazy. And just to name a few, if I go here and look at this, subtract subset file, introspect subset file, intersperse. What is intersperse and introspect? What is this? This is not user friendly, right? Too much detail, so specific, and so many things, different things you can do, which is a good thing because you have a lot of power as a user. You are in full control of your own data, your own flashcards, your own learning flow, unlike many apps, especially the apps that are software as a service. Then, yeah, at some degree, Supermemo is not free. It's paid. It's an excuse, because yes, this will make it popular. But Supermemo, 3 versions older than the current one, is always freeware. You can use it for free. But yeah, it will be nice that the current version, if it will be free, there will be more users, therefore more popular. Then, it's not open source, and that's a big factor for me, because, hey, I don't like this, yeah, but I cannot make even an add-on to modify that, like Chrome. You have Chrome, the software, by the way, what I'm using now, the browser. I would like to have that. Yep, you can install an add-on, an extension, and have it there. You can customize your experience. At some degree, there are some limitations, but you can make it more your own. In Supermemo, that's not the case. So if you don't like how it's something, or it's not easy to navigate, the interface, it's what it is. To use Supermemo, you need an ability to focus on a goal. I need more information for this. There were different interpretations with this. But I will take it in the sense that usually In the school system, you had the curriculum. And the curriculum is now you do this is the subject, perhaps even the bibliography, the sources, those slides, those books, those articles. You have never did this yourself. So when you say, okay, I want to use Supermemo to learn a language, or to learn about my job, programming, or a new job today, I want to change careers. How do I do that? You have to select your own material. You have to prioritize your own material. You have to search and find your own material. Make, quote unquote, your own curriculum when you're self-directed. This is really hard for people who have never done that. They have passively been in the school system just obeying orders. This will make it a lot harder, and therefore less popular, because people will just move on. And they will use a software that is pre-made. I have a pre-made course and flashcards about what I wanted, and that's it. If it's a language and so on. Other interests compete with Supermemo in the sense that, yeah, I want to play video games, I want, for instance, to run my YouTube, to exercise, to run my YouTube channel, to exercise, to code, whatever. With to some degree, you could use Supermemo in conjunction in some of those. But you get the point. That if I use Supermemo, each time I'm not playing the video game or watching Netflix. Even though, if I watch Netflix or I play a game, I could be learning a language, for instance. Such a good insight. If I am already successful, even if it's a suboptimal approach, let's say that you had lighting on paper, and yeah, some method that is very old-fashioned and has limitations. But it's enough for you that you are successful based on your goals. Why you will invest so much time to use Supermemo if you are already successful? You only do it, and you see there's a lot of information overload that you cannot keep up and prioritize. What do I do? How do I manage this? Oh yeah, I could do it with Supermemo. So why Supermemo is not successful? It's not popular. Yeah, if I think I don't need it, I won't be using it. Then the long term, because Supermemo is meant on the long term, more or less overlaps with cramming, with an exam and so on. Exactly. So if I only care about passing exams, I won't be using Supermemo. Once I'm done with the exam, my goal will be to pass another exam. And once I graduate, I don't care. Right? Then why should I use Supermemo? The interface is hard and counterintuitive, yes, because it's suffers from old age. That was done in the 80s and 90s. So back then was the norm. We could simplify, was normal. But people who are used to the modern software will see a major difference. Second, it was just a design, bad design choices, a lot of clicks, and so on. That is not because it's old. It was a bad choice to begin with. And because, to simplify, it's very idiosyncratic. It's designed with some flows in mind. So if you want to have a kind of different flow, you will have this counterintuitiveness that I have to be done the other way around, or I need to click this, creates friction. Oh, look inside. Oh, such a good insight. I will not have mentioned that. Lack of task-oriented documentation. It's very open. So hey, that's how you can use Supermemo for learning. Learning from documents, from videos, podcasts, whatever form the information is, you convert this information into knowledge. But that's it. There's no documentation how I can use, Supermemo to increase my health. Learn how to cook better, what cooking methods to avoid, or what ingredients to avoid, and so on, or how to conserve the food, store the food at home, and so on. Like the potatoes don't get sunlight, this kind of thing. Or how can you use Supermemo to lose weight? Now I'm overweight, I want to lose weight. And I immediately with this to lack of knowledge. I want to learn a language with Supermemo. How do I do it? So the documentation is in very high detail of every functionality, how it works, what it does, and so on. but it lacks the task-oriented documentation. If I want to learn a language, how do I do it? If I want to learn programming, how do I do it? That's also very true. That was also my case. It's like when you have a pill, hey, if you take this pill, you will lose weight. Magically, right? It sounds too scammy. And this is the same thing. With this technique, with this method or this software, you will be smarter, you will be more intelligent. Yeah, it's a self-defense, subconsciously. That sounds too good to be true, right? But it's not. The tool doesn't make you smarter, by the way. Your learning makes you smarter. You become more knowledge, you accumulate more knowledge, and this knowledge, applying this knowledge, makes you wiser. The tool, the software, is just a tool to get this knowledge. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, lack of modern standards. LaTeX, PDF, Markdown, and almost anything that is modern. Again, that in Supermemo, it's a solo experience. So you can do social interaction, that you can share what you're reading, what we see in the Discord communities. So about the software, how to use this, I have this flow, this other flow, I'm running this, look at those flashcards, how I can formulate this better, or there's this AI that I can use, all of those. But your running experience is solo. It's only you using Supermemo. That's why, again, it's not popular. Because many people will say, no, I don't want this isolation. And the other, I don't know if I mentioned that. It's Windows only, but it's only for, that means that you cannot use it for phone, tablets, and so on. So overall, why Supermemo is more popular? Because all of that. And it's only going worse and worse. That means, by the way, the creator is 60-something. Piotr Wozniak is 60-something. If they retire, or sadly they pass away, it could be the end. And some years later, people could still using it, the last version. But eventually the last version will be problematic to keep using Windows, because the Windows will be updating, something could be incompatible, the import stops working, as it happened, by the way. You cannot import anymore. You have to rely on the import, all of that. Eventually, it could die out. Like video games that were released in the 90s. Some of them, perhaps no one is playing this. Or perhaps across the year, someday someone is playing that game. But there will be many days that no one on earth is playing that game at that day, that time. So there were my 2 cents. And yes, I do believe this is going downhill. I have made hundreds of videos about this software myself. And I'm reaching the end, in the sense that I have covered almost everything. And I will move on, covering Supermemo. I will keep using Supermemo. But as soon as another incremental reading app is out, it's very likely I will move on. Until that doesn't happen, I will stay. But what is indeed, I do believe, is that the future is not bright. The best case scenario is to stay the same. It's like the ideal case. And the most likely scenario is to keep losing and losing. I don't know if you disagree with anything I have said in this video. That's all for today. See you incrementally.